While you're waiting for their approval, life is quietly passing you by. Every time you hesitate to take a step forward, wondering what they'll think, you give away a piece of your freedom. You weren't born to fit into someone else's mold or seek validation from a world that doesn't even understand your journey. Real power begins the moment you stop asking for permission and start living in alignment with your own values. The truth is, you don't need their approval, you need your own courage. From early childhood, we're trained, almost unconsciously, to mold our behavior around what gains us praise and avoids rejection. We learn to smile when we're sad, agree when we disagree, and conform even when something deep inside us rebels. This habit of seeking approval becomes so ingrained that by the time we're adults, we can barely distinguish between what we truly want and what we've been taught to want. We dress to impress, speak to please, and hesitate to take bold actions, not because they're wrong, but because we fear judgment. But here's the truth. Every time you base your choices on someone else's opinion, you hand them a piece of your identity. You dilute your voice, your vision, your values, all in exchange for a fleeting sense of acceptance. Stoicism calls this out for what it is, a form of self-betrayal. According to Marcus Aurelius, it never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. This contradiction lies at the heart of our suffering. True freedom, the Stoics tell us, is not found in applause or validation, but in integrity. The quiet confidence that comes from living according to reason and virtue, not approval. When you realize that their opinion cannot touch your soul, you begin to walk lighter, speak braver, and finally, truly live. Most people spend their entire lives trapped in an invisible cage built by the expectations of others. From the moment we start interacting with the world, we absorb the subtle and overt signals about who we should be, how we should act, what we should desire, and even what we should fear. Society constantly pressures us to fit into predefined roles, to follow certain paths, and to seek approval from those around us, as if it were a measure of our worth. This relentless external demand creates anxiety, self-doubt, and a deep sense of unrest. We begin to doubt our instincts, censor our true feelings, and hide our imperfections, all because we want to be liked or accepted. Yet, this approval is fleeting and unreliable. What pleases one person can displease another, and trying to satisfy everyone only leads to exhaustion and frustration. Stoic philosophy teaches us that placing our happiness and sense of self in the hands of others is a mistake. It is an unstable foundation destined to collapse. Instead, we must cultivate an inner fortress of self-acceptance and resilience, recognizing that the only true approval that matters is our own. When you stop chasing the approval of others, you liberate yourself from the chains of comparison and insecurity. You learn to stand firm in your principles and embrace your uniqueness without apology. This is not arrogance, it is wisdom and strength. The moment you realize you don't need their approval is the moment you start living on your own terms, free from the emotional roller coaster of seeking validation outside yourself. That freedom is the beginning of a fulfilling, authentic life. When you rely on the approval of others to feel worthy or to guide your decisions, you surrender control over your own life to forces that are unpredictable and often indifferent. This dependence creates a fragile sense of self that fluctuates with every opinion, every glance, every whispered judgment. One day you feel uplifted by praise, the next crushed by criticism, never stable, never truly at peace. The Stoics teach us that this is a dangerous trap because the only thing we truly control is our own mind, our thoughts, our choices, and our responses. External approval is beyond our control. It is fleeting and often misguided, reflecting others' biases, fears, and limitations rather than your true value. By placing your happiness and self-worth in the hands of others, you are building your foundation on sand. True strength and freedom come from anchoring yourself in your own reason and virtue, learning to accept yourself fully, flaws and all, without needing validation from outside. This doesn't mean ignoring feedback or becoming indifferent to others. Rather, it means developing a strong internal compass that filters what is helpful and discards what is irrelevant or harmful. When you embrace this mindset, you become resilient. You no longer react emotionally to every opinion or seek constant reassurance. Instead, you cultivate a calm confidence rooted in self-awareness and integrity. This freedom, the freedom from needing others' approval, is the gateway to living authentically, courageously, and peacefully. It allows you to pursue your own path without hesitation, make decisions based on your values, and face challenges without fear of judgment. In this space, your life becomes your own masterpiece, created not for applause, but for your own fulfillment and growth. Most people live their lives caught in a constant struggle to gain approval from others. Family, friends, colleagues, even strangers. This need to be accepted can feel like a natural part of being human, but it often becomes a prison that limits your growth and happiness. When you base your self-worth on what others think, you give away your power to external forces that are unpredictable and uncontrollable. The opinions of others can change in an instant, leaving you feeling anxious, insecure, and constantly on edge. Stoicism offers a powerful alternative. It teaches that the only true approval you need is your own. This means developing a deep sense of self-trust and inner peace that doesn't waver with the changing tides of public opinion. It means learning to value your own judgment, to recognize your strengths and weaknesses honestly, and to act according to your own principles rather than trying to please everyone else. This is not easy. Breaking free from the habit of seeking approval takes courage and practice, but the rewards are immense. A life lived with authenticity, confidence, and freedom. When you stop chasing approval, you begin to live fully on your own terms. You stop fearing rejection and start embracing challenges as opportunities to grow. You become grounded in what truly matters to you, rather than being tossed around by the shifting opinions of others. Ultimately, this mindset leads to a profound sense of fulfillment, because you are no longer living for their approval. You are living for your own highest self. The journey to stop needing others' approval is deeply personal, often difficult, and requires a fundamental shift in how you perceive yourself and your place in the world. It means facing and overcoming deep-rooted fears. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of loneliness, that have kept you trapped in a cycle of seeking validation from outside sources. These fears can feel overwhelming because they are tied to our survival instincts. But Stoicism teaches us that much of our suffering comes not from external events themselves, but from the judgments we place upon those events. When you begin to disentangle your self-worth from the opinions of others, you begin to free yourself from a vast amount of unnecessary emotional pain. This freedom is not about becoming cold, distant, or indifferent. Rather, it's about cultivating a resilient and compassionate inner self that remains steady regardless of what the outside world throws your way. It requires patience, practice, and a willingness to be gentle with yourself as you learn to trust your own judgment and values above all else. The opinions of others become what they truly are. Just opinions, not absolute truths about your character or potential. By shifting your focus inward and dedicating yourself to your own growth, purpose, and meaning, you gain a clarity and confidence that external approval can never provide. This is the core of living a Stoic life. Being grounded, self-reliant, and unshaken by the unpredictable tides of public opinion or fleeting social approval. When you fully embrace this mindset, you become unstoppable because you are no longer a prisoner to the need for approval. Instead, you are free to walk your own path with courage, authenticity, and peace, creating a life that reflects your true self rather than the expectations of others.